Rubio reveals chilling details about Biden spying on American citizens, aka vectors of disinformation. That's what he called us. That's what he called the American citizens that were going against the narrative that and the propaganda that that Biden's administration been pushing. I mean, we already knew this was happening. We knew it because a lot of us been censored and stuff. But to actually see the evidence of this, to hear the evidence of this from Marco Rubio is just it's scary what our government was doing to normal average American citizens that just happen to disagree with them. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna play the clip from Rubio. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. Has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news now. This comes from Red State, and they report that Donald Trump celebrated his first 100 days of his second term in office on Tuesday and held a huge rally in Michigan. On Wednesday, he held a televised cabinet meeting, which is producing plenty of headlines. One story we already knew about, but is still chilling to hear. Former President Joe Biden was spying on American citizens, and he considered many of his own countrymen to be enemies. I know, I know they considered me an enemy. They nuked my entire channel behind some of the stuff that I was saying, and all I was doing was just reporting what was in the news, and everything that I was reporting on, guess what, turned out to be true. Secretary of State Marco Rubio laid out that there was a department at state devoted to combining. I'm sorry, struggle reading today, y'all. Devoted to combing through the personal lives and thoughts of citizens. So let's just get right to the clip here. Here we go. Well, first Town Hall tweeted out, "This is nuts. Secretary Rubio just announced that he found dozens of files kept by Joe Biden's State Department that classified American citizens as, quote, vectors of disinformation with the intention of censoring them. That's not all. Marco Rubio says that there's someone in, I don't know, I'm not going to worry about the rest of it. We'll play the clip. But remember how, I can't remember what state, but a group of people got together and they sued the Biden administration for censorship, and the judge ruled that there was no censorship happening within the government. Remember when we reported that? Well, here's more evidence to show that that ruling was just wrong. Here we go.
Something else we got out of the business of, wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. Yeah. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
Me or Elon? We can follow up with the media story.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about it. The Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens to identify them as vectors of disinformation, when we know that the best way to combat disinformation is freedom of speech and transparency. And so that's what we're going to be in the business of doing. We're not going to have an office that does that.
That is straight up illegal. Straight up flies in the face of our First Amendment rights. Our government telling us what we can and we can't talk about. But the tweet from our sister site, Town Hall, concludes that's not all. Marco Rubio says there's someone in President Trump's cabinet meeting right now that was being monitored. Of course, he's talking about the president. He's talking about Donald Trump, and you best believe they were censoring Donald Trump. Rubio talked about the dossiers compiled against those suspected of being guilty of wrong things. So something else we got out of the business of, it wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. I mean, again, totally illegal, totally against the Constitution. But that's when Vice President J.D. Vance jumped in with the line of the day. He said, "Was it me or Elon?" The room erupted into loud laughter. Oh, I didn't know they were in the room, so maybe it was Elon or J.D. Vance. More than likely, it was Trump or Elon. Rubio collected himself and continued. Let me see if I got a video of that. No, we don't. So I'm gonna have to read it. Struggle read again. Rubio collected himself and continued. Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. Oh yeah, so no new information here. We played the video, but the media and the Democrats whine about Trump being a dictator, a Hitler devotee, and a fascist. In reality, it was Joe Biden who showed much more of an authoritarian streak, and his use of the federal government to go after his perceived enemies was deeply sinister. He used the Department of Justice and its henchmen to go after Donald Trump, and he used the Department of State and other agencies to spy on and censor the people. So there you have it. Again, this is not something we didn't already know. We knew this was happening already. It's just more evidence to that fact. I'm gonna have to go back and look into that judgment. I can't remember which state it was. I can't remember the name of the judge that ruled that the Biden administration is not spying on American people. They're not censoring the American people. They're not stopping the American people's free speech when we have tons of evidence to the contrary. I mean, remember the Twitter files? I got a whole playlist if y'all want to check that out. The Twitter files that basically prove that that judge was wrong on that. I think someone should, even though he's not, I don't know what we can do about it now, knowing that he's now that Biden is not in office any longer. I don't know what we can do about this, but it has to be something put in place, something we can do, or we can prevent this from happening again. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.